Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're heading up Black Hill. That's at the top end of the Peak District National Park. Managed to park the van at a little village called Home, H-O-L-M-E, and I'm walking on Issues Lane up onto the Pennine Way and up to Soldier's Lump, which is the trig point at the top of Black Hill. And from there, we're going to do a little bit of navigation and we're going to find a couple of plane crashes or a couple of plane crash sites. I have brought the big camera because I do know that there are mountain hares up here. And once so long ago, we had a bit of snow up here, so they may still have the winter coats on. Just stopped to enjoy the views, and there's 5 buzzards right above me, just riding the therms. It's a glorious sunny day. There's still a little bit of a nip in the air, so I've got the basics with me: waterproofs, hat, gloves, extra layer, head torch, map and compass. So we're going to go all the way to the end of Issues Lane, and then we're going to pick up the Pennine Way somewhere around here, and then up onto the tops, across the moors, over towards the transmitter, and then back down to the village. There's a flock of about 15 curlew have just landed into a field over to my right, and I've just heard my first lapwing of the day. And as the curlew came into land, there's a flock of about 200 black-headed gulls took off. And also I see a brown hare. And whilst I'm easily distracted by the wildlife, I'm not here for that today. I'm here for something else. So not a bad start to the day. Some buzzard, lapwing, curlew, black-headed gull, some starling, my first skylark of the year, a couple of brown hares, some crows, other things I might expect to see on this walk: meadow pipit, wheatear, possibly a little bit too early for the wheatear, golden plover, and fingers crossed, up on the tops, some mountain hares still in their winter coats. That would be nice. Just stopped to chat to that lovely couple, both keen bird watchers, and they're telling me that they've heard a golden plover. So now we're past the lush green fields, we're into open access area. Just up on the hillside, just seen a buzzard land on a wall up there. It's too far away to get a decent shot. And then there was a few lapwing in the top of these fields over here. Absolutely stunning day to be out. And here we've got some belted Galloway cattle. These are a Scottish breed, specifically raised for beef. However, they can also be used for conservation grazing, or targeted grazing as it can be known as. A really hardy breed, and they'll do quite well in this environment. Very timid, that one there came up and said hello. I managed to scratch its nose for it. It's having a good scratch in the post there now. little bit of a climb ahead until we join the Pennine Way. And just make out a couple just coming down the Pennine Way up on the skyline there. See a little sign up ahead. That's the junction with the Pennine Way. So this sign's a good reminder for anybody heading down off at Black Hill that if it's been raining heavily for a couple of days, there's a clough further down called Dean Clough and it can be impassable. So what this sign's suggesting is you turn right here, go down to Issues Lane and then veer round to a place called Blackpool Bridge and cross over there. And at the top of that little climb, past the sign, we've turned left onto the Pennine Way. The next section of the Pennine Way, it's all slabs like this. And I believe that these slabs originate from the old mills in Manchester. And it certainly makes walking a little bit easier than walking over all this heather and bog. And as we get higher, the views just get better and better. Looking north, beyond the wind farm, we can just make out Pen to the right. Beyond that to the left we've got Whernside, and then over to the left we've got Ingleborough. And that's some distance away, that's a good 40-50 miles. Just make out the very distinctive shape of Soldier's Lump ahead. It's the trig point at the top of Black Hill. It's called Soldier's Lump because it was built by the Royal Engineers, which happens to be Mild Unit. And in fact, when Wainwright did his Pennine Way route, he actually comments about finding some wooden supports for the old theodolites that they used. So there's the trig, and we're heading off in this direction. We're looking for our first plane crash. So we've just arrived at the Fairy Swordfish plane crash site. So I'll put a picture of the Fairy Swordfish up on the screen now. In a nutshell, on the 25th of January 1940, Sub-Lieutenant Williamson took off from an air base in Cumbria heading down to Sussex, but he never made it. It wasn't until the end of February, so over a month later, when a local council worker clearing snow off the road at Home Moss noticed something up on the moors, and he came up to investigate and he found the body of the pilot. The police then recovered the body to a mortuary down at Hollingworth. So all we've got left of the plane now is this pile of metal and a little metal cross. It's in a little bit of a gully, it's out of the wind and the sun is shining, so I'm going to stop here and have my dinner. So the Peak District is actually littered with plane crash sites, and there's some great internet sites giving you the locations and the history of these sites, and there's some good books as well. I've actually got one of the books, and they're a great inclusion in some of my navigation courses. So not only is it navigating, but it involves a little bit of history. It makes the course a little bit more interesting. I actually use this as a task from the top of Black Hill at the trig point where we've just been. Most people just take a bearing from the trig point and they'll try and walk on a bearing, and it's a good 400-500 metres to this site. And 9 times out of 10 they'll walk past it because the terrain is unforgiving. It's up and down, it's boggy, heather, and they'll walk past it. The tactic on this one is to actually find a nearby attack point, and the attack point is 70 metres away, and it's the top of a gully where a footpath crosses a stream. So take a bearing from there and you've got a much shorter distance and you're reducing the margin of error. So I've had a bit of dinner and I'm now leaving the Sawfish crash site. And as usual, leave no trace, just make sure I've not left anything. Whilst I was having my dinner, a couple came past, ex-military man, lovely couple, nice to chat to them. Never got their names though. But everybody I've met today, very chatty, very friendly. Nice to see. So I'm now heading over towards a place called Wrigley's Cabin. So, map and compass, I'm checking the bearing, and I'm heading over towards Wrigley's Cabin. I'm now entering mountain hare territory. So I'm going to keep my eyes peeled, camera at the ready. I've been coming up here photographing mountain hares for a few years now, so I know roughly where to find them. But one thing that is noticeable is that their numbers are decreasing. Golden plover over there, so I'm not going to go that way. I'm just going to keep around it just in case it is nesting. Don't want to disturb it off the nest. And here we have Wrigley's Cabin. Somewhere to sit down. However, it's out of the sun. I've been up to this cabin before. It's called Wrigley's Cabin. It's on the maps. I think it's an old shooting hut or something like that. So if anybody knows the history of Wrigley's Cabin and why it's named or where the names come from, please put something in the comments below because I'm really curious about that one. Every time I come here there's always bits of rubbish lying around, so I have brought a bin bag and I had a quick look in and there's a little bit of rubbish I'm going to take with me. So I could have had a brew inside Wrigley's Cabin. It's a bit muddy when it's after the sun. The sun's behind a cloud at the moment. When it does come out it is glorious. So walking over here there was red grouse and a golden plover. It's an absolutely gorgeous day up here. Just the sound of the wind, the occasional sound of the red grouse. It's just so tranquil. Days like this, just so good for the soul. Everybody needs a reset day like this once in a while. I'm super impressed with this OEX stove. It boils the water in no time at all. Just there, put the water on the boil, messing around getting my coffee into my cup and everything, and as soon as I finished that, the water's boiled. So yeah, very impressed with that. From Wrigley's cabin, I'm now navigating to a Sabre Mark II plane crash site. And until last week, I didn't know about this plane crash site. It was my mate Wayne that told me about it, so thank you very much for the information, Wayne. A little bit embarrassing now, because somebody from over the Pennines, with the wrong side of the hill, had to tell me about something that was on my doorstep. So yeah, a little bit embarrassing. But I'm going to go and find it now and hopefully put things right. But yeah, thanks for the info, Wayne, much appreciated. This next section, there might be one or two mountain hares knocking about, so I'm going to have the camera at the ready. So that's not an excuse if I walk past it on a wrong compass bearing or anything. I'm not making excuses. I'm just saying that I'm going to be looking out for mountain hares as well as trying to focus on my compass bearing. We'll see. So these, what I thought were bits of plastic, actually part of the fence. So I'm going to put them back on the fence where they belong. Don't know why anybody would take them off. A little bit of rubbish, but certainly a little bit tidier than when I got here. And as always, just a check of the area, make sure I've not left anything and leave no trace. Now I need to focus on some navigation. Chuffed a bit, mountain hare, full winter coat, literally feet away from me. And just make out the plane crash here. Here we are at the crash site of the Sabre Mark II. So there's all the wreckage here. A couple of little crosses there. And then a short distance away, there's a little bit of a cairn. We finally arrived at the second plane crash site, and this one is a Sabre Mark II. The number on the plane was 19234, and this one crashed on the 14th of December 1954. So it was after the Second World War, but start of the Cold War with Russia. And what they were doing, they were getting some old aircraft, doing them up and selling them to Greece. So they'd done it up, and it was on a test flight, and it was flying low over the village of Home. The locals heard it actually crash, and they came up, found the wreckage, and they found the pilot being basically thrown from the cockpit through the canopy, and they found him 80 metres or 80 yards away from the crashed aircraft. So this is in memory of Flying Officer Patrick Vernon Robinson, Royal Canadian Air Force. Another stunning location, not a soul in sight. The navigation was pretty good for this one, and as if to announce my arrival, we had a flock of golden plover overhead singing nicely for me, serenading me. So from the Sabre crash site, drop down the hill towards the village at home. So come across this track. Follow this track, which will take me all the way back down. It's called Cliff Lane, which then takes me back onto Issues Lane and back to the van. Just come across this balloon. Luckily I've got a black bin bag in my rucksack, so I'm going to get this in there. So rubbish is in my rucksack now. Took less than a couple of minutes. Hello sheep, that's not like you normally run away. So I've come down off the tops and I'm actually at the site of a third plane crash. However, this one is on private land, so I would be trespassing if I went down to it. Check the map, it's not open access land. I've done a little bit of internet research and it suggests that there's nothing there to see anyway, so it'd just be a waste of time. The farm's just down there in sight, so I'm not going to risk getting shouted at by a farmer. So although I'm literally 100 metres away from the crash site, I'm not going to the site, but I am going to talk about it, because I do think it's important that we remember what these people did for us. So this third crash site is an RAF Handley Page Hampden L4055 from number 83 Squadron. They took part in an overnight bombing raid on Germany, setting off at 9 o'clock on the 22nd of May 1940. On the return journey, the aircraft drifted off in its course in poor weather and crashed just down here. All 4 crew members were killed. Sergeant Stanley William Jenkins, the pilot, Sergeant Alan Marsh, the observer, Sergeant William Thornton, the wireless operator and air gunner, and Sergeant Peter William Josse, and he was the air gunner. And a week after the crash, an unexploded bomb from the aircraft was found by children playing near the wreckage, and the Royal Engineers were summoned to detonate the bomb. So that's the 3 plane crash sites out of hundreds in the Peak District. 2 that I actually visited and 1 that was just out of reach on private land. But there's nothing there anyway, so it wasn't worth visiting. It's been a stunning day out. Probably done about 6 or 7 miles. Fingers crossed I've got a couple of decent wildlife shots. Golden plover, mountain hare. I've achieved the objective for today, and that was to practice some navigation to the 2 plane crash sites, one of which I visited quite a few times before, and the other one, the Sabre Mark II, was a brand new one for me. And once again, thanks to Wayne for the information. So if you've got any other history or information about the plane crash sites or about Wrigley's cabin, I want to know where that name's come from. So put something in the comments below. And if you have enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. And until next time, that's me signing off. And thanks for watching.